Is the Texans' offensive line any good? Well, Pro Football Focus doesn't seem to think so, and I vehemently disagree. Where exactly are we on the Texans' offensive line and what to make of the situation right now? What can this offensive line be, and why some of these lists and rankings just don't make any sense whatsoever? Let's talk about this Texans' offensive line and where it is as an offensive line as we approach training camp, which is about 2 weeks away from getting going. Let's start with the best situation that they have on the offensive line and work our way through the left guard spot, to be honest with you. At left tackle, they've got Laremy Tunsil. Okay? He's one of the best left tackles in all of football. Is he the best? No. Can he, on any given week, be the best left tackle in football? Sure. Even Trent Williams has an iffy week here or there. Trent Williams is the best. Tunsil, to me, is not quite Trent Williams, but he's really darn close, and he is one of the best left tackles in football. He's one of the best tackles in football. There's some really good guys over on the right side across the league, but Tunsil's in the conversation of being one of the best. And last year, he was a really solid player despite playing through injury. If the knee is cleaned up and he's 100% healthy, the Texans should have an elite, lockdown left tackle and not have to worry about that position unless Tunsil gets banged up and has to miss time. That's the only way you would worry about the left tackle spot. Laremy Tunsil playing and healthy is a no-worry situation for the Houston Texans. Now let's go to right guard, which is the situation that I feel best about after left tackle. That's led by Shaq Mason. Amongst guards who played most of the season last year, okay? Amongst guards who played 80% of the season or more, Shaq Mason was one of the 12 best guards in football, according to Pro Football Focus. He was 12th in overall offense in their blocking stat. He was 7th in their run blocking, and he was 14th in their pass blocking statistic. So Shaq Mason, one of the best guards in football by the stats of Pro Football Focus. I'm not going to sit here and get down on the intricacies and the intimacy of offensive line play. That's not for me to do. That's for the O-line experts, the former players to take care of. Pro Football Focus, those numbers don't mean everything, but they certainly don't mean nothing as well. Is Shaq Mason the 12th best guard in football? No, but can you make a solid argument and a sound argument? He's one of the 20 best guards in football. When you think about there being 64 starters every week at the guard position, is Mason one of the 20 best? Sure, I'll give you that. I feel like that's a pretty sound and safe place to put Shaq Mason. Started out kind of slow last year, got going and leveled off to a really nice level of play at right guard for the Texans. And he's kind of actually compensated and paid right around where he ended up on that Pro Football Focus ranking, which is something that I got to imagine looks good now for Nick Caserio when people like yours truly were not sure that contract for Shaq Mason made a whole heck of a lot of sense when he got that contract extension with the Texans. Now let's jump to right tackle. And you're like, Cody, right tackle? Really? Titus Howard coming off of the significant knee injury that cost him the end of the season. Titus Howard, who's always banged up. Yeah, I get it. But when Titus Howard plays and is healthy at right tackle, and I feel like a lot of people's issues with the Texans in 2023, they pay attention to left guard Titus Howard and offensive lines that had left guard Titus Howard. That was far from their best alignment, okay? But Titus Howard at right tackle, when healthy, he's an average right tackle, okay? Pro Football Focus, 2022. Titus Howard at right tackle, about the 30th, 34th, 36th right tackle in most of the rankings, okay? Or tackle in most of the rankings, excuse me. Not just right tackle, but tackle in most of the rankings. Again, 64 starters. If you come in right in the middle of the 30s, you're about league average. That's what Titus Howard has been at right tackle. He's had moments where he's looked really, really good at tackle. That's got to be more consistent. That's why the Texans paid him. They believe that consistency is going to be there. Am I keen that consistency is going to be there? No, I don't truly believe that every single week the Texans are going to have lockdown tackle situations, but can Titus Howard play better than he did in 2022? Can he stay healthy and over the course of a season really kind of raise that profile that he has? I absolutely do believe that is possible. Some cohesion, playing with the same offensive line, playing at the actual position that he's supposed to play. I feel like Titus Howard can settle in, and at the very least, he's a league average right tackle, and at best, he is going to find himself increasing his profile at the right tackle spot, one of the higher paid right tackles in all of football. Then I'm going to go to the center spot here for this Texans team. Juice Scruggs is going to be the center to me. It feels like he's going to be the center. They were ready to hand the center spot to Juice Scruggs last year after the injury to Scott Quessenberry, and then Juice Scruggs himself got injured in the preseason, and it led to the rotating cast of centers. Jaret Patterson ultimately solidified that and played pretty well. Do I believe he's going to come in and beat out Scruggs? No, I don't, because a healthy Scruggs to me feels like he's going to be the starter at center. Again, the Texans were confident in him last year as a rookie, and with getting his feet wet at left guard, though the results weren't great, I've cited Pro Football Focus, the numbers were not kind to Juice Scruggs at left guard, not his position. Remember, he practiced primarily at center in training camp, got hurt, came off the injury. It took longer than expected for him to get back, and then as soon as he was back, he was playing left guard, not center for the Texans. At center, I believe he can settle down, provide an average level of play at the center spot. A minute here for my friends at Platinum AC and Heating. My guy Dwyane is an all-pro when it comes to taking care of air conditioners. 5-star rated by the Better Business Bureau, 5-star rated on Google and on Yelp. Dwyane at Platinum AC and Heating will take care of your AC situation. From repairs to replacements to tune-ups to make sure the AC is blowing its coldest and running efficiently, Dwyane at Platinum AC and Heating can do it all. If you own a business, he can take care of your business's HVAC. If you own housing units, he can handle all of that too. Decades of experience has led to him having the best service in town, along with the best prices in town. Give Dwyane a call today, 832-777-3683, 832-777-3683. Dwyane ain't gonna let you sit in a hot house. So if you need AC help, you need Platinum AC and Heating. Now, that takes us to the left guard spot, which is the spot that I don't know exactly what the Texans are going to get. I believe they've got enough options to figure it out at left guard. Kenyon Green, with his transformed body that looked better in OTAs and looked better in minicamp, he feels to me, having been a former first-round pick, having that level of talent that got him that first-round selection, feels to me like he's going to be the guy that's got the initial inside track to the left guard spot. If he can't settle it down and be a good left guard in training camp in the preseason, then he's going to have plenty of contenders for that spot. The two biggest contenders, Jaret Patterson, who I don't believe is going to be the center for this team, and Kendrick Green, who, if you remember, played pretty decently last year at left guard prior to his injury against the Pittsburgh Steelers, which ultimately ended his season. So Kenyon Green, to me, gets the first crack at being the starting left guard. And if he plays up to the potential of what he was supposed to be, which was a ready from day one left guard, which he's not showcased hardly any of that in the NFL, if he plays up to that potential, then the Texans have a chance to have a really nasty level of play on that offensive line. Even if he could just get to average, which again, he hasn't shown a ton at the NFL level. Even if he could just get to average, the left guard spot would be something that you don't feel terrible about. If you could say, top 5 at the position at left tackle, top, 10 at the right tackle spot, top 8 at the right guard spot, and then average at the other 2 spots, that offensive line could really come together and be something that's fairly impressive over the course of the season. Remember, it's most of these guys' second year in the system. It was a new system for them to learn. It was a new system for offensive line coach Chris Strasser to teach last year. And all of those things get to build on itself, and they're bringing back a lot of those guys. Patterson played in the system last year. Kendrick Green played in the system last year. Obviously, Tunsil did. Obviously, Shaq Mason did. Obviously, Titus Howard did, though it was at left guard, but he was in the offensive line meetings. He knew what the right tackle, like that knowledge being built into the offensive line gives them a pretty solid base to start from. Now, they've got to be much better than they were last year. Pro Football Focus said they finished up at about 15th, and they had, I think, 10, 11 different starters start over the course of the season along the offensive line. And heck, a lot of those were at left tackle because they had some of those issues when Tunsil wasn't there. But if they could be, say, the 12th best offensive line with an increased ability to help run the football, and an even better passing game, courtesy of C.J. Stroud in his second year, the wide receivers that were on the team last year in their second year, the addition of Stefon Diggs and Joe Mixon, Joe Mixon in the rushing game and the passing game. They could be a really solid offensive line, and they wouldn't have to be one of the best offensive lines in football. What's their ceiling? Their ceiling's probably something like a top 8 ceiling. Now, that's if Tunsil is still Laremy Tunsil, which no reason to believe he's not going to be. And that's if Titus Howard is going to take the next step and turn into a good right tackle, more so than an average right tackle like he has been up to this point in his career. And then you need Kenyon Green and Juice Scruggs to play to their draft slot and play to the level of trust that the Texans had in them. Remember, they were going to let Kenyon Green take over that left guard spot basically right away, and then he's kind of banged up, and once he got in there, it didn't look great, and same with Scruggs. They were going to let Scruggs take over that center spot right away. The Texans trusted those players, and if they could trust them and get that trust to pay off, that offensive line could be in a really good situation and a really good spot to succeed and help this team really take care of business in 2024. Now, that's where I am on the offensive line. Now, that didn't sound like they were the best offensive line in the AFC, but it certainly should have sounded to you like they were less than, say, 5th or 6th in the AFC, less than, 15th or 16th in the NFL. But Pro Football Focus, my goodness, look at this list. Look at where they have the Texans, or more specifically, look at where the Texans aren't, which is in the top 10. Now, I want to quickly go through the teams that I have no issue being ahead of the Houston Texans. The Indianapolis Colts, they've spent a ton over the years on that offensive line. It's a really good offensive line. They were banged up a bunch last year. Healthy, they should be a formidable offensive line. Same with the Cleveland Browns. Hurt a bunch last year. If healthy, they've invested a ton. They should be a formidable offensive line. Kansas City Chiefs at 4. No issues there. They might have the best left guard, center, right guard trio in all of football. And if not the best, certainly one of the best. In their tackle situation, it could get better, but it could be a whole heck of a lot worse as well. And if you wanted to put the Chargers ahead of the Texans, I'd listen. Okay, they're replacing a center who retired, and Joe Alt is a rookie, but Joe Alt's supposed to be kind of the most plug-and-play tackle that we've seen in recent memory. Rashawn Slater's a really nice player for them along the offensive line. So if you wanted the Chargers, because they've got some talent and Jim Harbaugh is their coach, if you wanted to say they were better than the Houston Texans when it comes to the AFC, I'll listen. I'll have that conversation with you. But some of these teams, it's an atrocity that they're ahead of the Texans in this ranking by Zoltan Boudet, as you see there at the bottom. And that's the author of this, the story on Pro Football Focus. And ironically, the author of the end-of-season rankings, where the Texans ranked 15th, and then they ended up ranking 22nd in this most recent rankings. Questionable. Speaking of those end-of-season rankings, the Jets, who are on this list at 3, were 31 at the end of last year. And they got a lot of benefit because one of their best players, Elijah Vera Tucker, was hurt most of last year and is now going to be healthy and back in the lineup for this offensive line for the Jets. And they went and added Tyron Smith, who is really, really good when he plays, but he's had some injury concerns. And they added Morgan Moses, who got just jettisoned off his previous team. And the Jets are acting like, they added Penei Sewell over there at right tackle. And so is the author. 3rd for the Jets. And look, I like Joe Tippmann, the center from Wisconsin. He's a nice enough player. Elijah Vera Tucker's obviously very good, but Tyron Smith can't stay healthy. Morgan Moses isn't any good. They drafted a kid who I'm not sure is going to be able to play on the offensive line right away in the first rounds. I don't get it with the Jets. I don't believe they've got a better situation than the Texans right now. The Buffalo Bills. Deion Dawkins is a nice player. He's not better than Laremy Tunsil. And then the rest of their offensive line is maybe I'm missing something. Maybe some of those guys are better than I give them credit, but don't get it with the Bills. The Steelers are ahead with 2 rookies set to start in their lineup, a rookie at guard and a rookie at center. That's right. The Steelers are ranked ahead of the Houston Texans with a first-round pick from this year and a second-round pick from this year set to start in their offensive line. Yeah, I don't get it either, okay? Doesn't make a lot of sense there. The Broncos stink. Mike McGlinchey's not very good at right tackle. He's vastly overpaid. Garrett Bowles is decidedly fine at left tackle, but he's far from what Laremy Tunsil brings to the table. They've had some guys move on there on the interior of the offensive line. It's not very good in Denver. It's an absolute joke that they're ahead of the Texans. The Dolphins one, Terron Armstead is not better than Laremy Tunsil. Their right tackle is okay, probably better than Tyus Howard. And then the interior of the offensive line is a bit of a disaster. Okay, that's not a very good offensive line in Miami. I don't get this. If you talk to Dolphins fans, they would probably tell you that this doesn't make sense, and they're worried about the offensive line. And the Raiders, don't get me started on that dumpster fire. There's like 3 good players on the Raiders. None of them are on the offensive line. Okay, it's an absolute joke the Texans aren't in the top 10 of AFC offensive linemen. Again, we laid it out. One of the best left tackles in football, a top 20 right guard, an average right tackle, and then there's some hopefulness to center and left guard. And you got to hope that turns out your way if you're the Texans, but that's a lot better than a lot of these teams that we just went through. Okay, a whole heck of a lot better than some of these teams. So I don't get the Pro Football Focus ranking, and I use some of their numbers kind of against them to demonstrate just how good the situation is for the Texans compared to some of these teams. We've talked a lot about Laremy Tunsil and how good he is. I want to bring up a article by Jim Kerr, I believe is the author's name. Jim Kerr wrote an article ranking Jeff Kerr. Jeff Kerr wrote an article ranking the 20 best offensive tackles in football in 2024. Now, in 2023, Laremy Tunsil was number 3 on his list. Okay? In 2023, Laremy Tunsil was number 3. All right, I talked about it at the beginning of this video. I believe Tunsil's somewhere between maybe the second best left tackle to the 4th best left tackle. Certainly one of the better tackles overall in all of football. So he was 3rd on the list last year. Played through injury, was still good last year. Let me show you where old Jeffrey ended up with Laremy Tunsil. So Trent Williams, no argument there. Number 1, you want to make that argument against Trent Williams, be my guest. I'm not going to listen to it. He's a monster. Okay, he's a monster. Texans probably should have traded for him back in the day. Instead of Laremy Tunsil, wouldn't have cost as much. Penei Sewell for the Detroit Lions, sure. One of the best tackles in football. Can get it done. Can play left tackle. Can play right tackle. And he's awesome. Just doesn't allow sacks. Doesn't allow pressure. He's nasty. Now, Tyron Smith's a great player. He's a future Hall of Famer. He's one of the most incredible, freaky tackles to ever play football in the National Football League. He just isn't healthy. He doesn't play as much as you would want him to, and even when he does play, the level is kind of dipped down. I know he played a little bit more last year, but he's up there in age. He constantly is hurt. I don't get it. Lane Johnson, okay. Like again, you want to say Lane Johnson and Penei Sewell and Trent Williams are ahead. Fine. I don't agree with Tyron Smith. All right. I don't agree with Tristan Wirfs. I had a tough time adjusting a left tackle. Wasn't as good at left tackle right away as I'm sure the Buccaneers hoped he would be. Jordan Mailata, I mean, a couple of years of success is erasing a half a decade worth of elite play from Laremy Tunsil. I don't understand that. Terron Armstead's old, gets hurt. Don't get it. Andrew Thomas, I mean, how many times have you felt like the Giants have had good tackle play? And I get that Thomas is a young stud, but he's been hurt a little bit. The consistency's not there. Christian Darrisaw, now it's just a joke. Braden Smith, come on. I mean, those guys being ahead of Laremy Tunsil, it's just an absolute joke. Tunsil's still very good and still has great play in him. And this actually works out to the Texans' big advantage because I know what a lot of people are going to say about Laremy Tunsil. They're going to say, hey, is he going to be motivated? He got the big money. Is he going to come back? And this stems from when he got hurt a couple of years ago, hurt his hand, and then never came back for the rest of the season. That was a dumpster fire of a season. I don't blame him. Though you would like to have a guy more bought in. And Tunsil's always been bought in when there's a chance for monetary gain. And he wants accolades, okay? But this worked out great for the Texans because Laremy Tunsil, his pinned tweet on Twitter, Jeff Kerr, and then he put the little writing emoji. So Tunsil's out there to prove he is not the 11th best tackle in football, and that's great news for the Houston Texans because they need him to be one of the best tackles in football. They need his teammates to get a lot better, and that offensive line overall needs to get a whole heck of a lot better. So that's where we are on the offensive line. Well, that's where I am on the offensive line. Where are you on the offensive line? Let me know in the comment section down below, and I will be happy to interact with you after you get in the comment section. Let me know where you are on the offensive line. Where's your biggest worry? Where are you not worried about this offensive line? You know what you don't have to worry about if you call Platinum AC and Heating is your air conditioner. That's right. Platinum AC and Heating has the best service and the best prices in town when it comes to servicing your air conditioner. My guy Dwyane will take care of your AC needs, from repairs to replacements to that little checkup to make sure the AC is running its best, not costing you money, blowing the coldest air, and letting you keep your cold hard cash in your pocket and let you chill out in the AC. Dwyane can get that tune-up set up for you and make sure that AC is in great shape for the hot summers. Give them a call today. The number's right there on the screen. You don't want to miss out on the best service and best prices in town when it comes to Platinum AC and Heating. All right, what say you? Let me know in the comments section. Check out Platinum AC and Heating. You can see them in the description down below as well. And throw me a thumbs up on the video. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Appreciate you watching. Hope you enjoyed the video. And I can't wait until we talk Texans again soon.